All right, we're joined by, this guy was pretty good back in the day, former defensive lineman, played for my Jets for a minute. And he is joining us on the Ring Central hotline. His name is Hugh Douglas, also played for the Eagles. And obviously, Ring Central providing easy-to-use cloud phone solutions for your workforce and business communications made simple. For more information, just go to ringcentral.com. That is Hugh Douglas, who does radio down in Atlanta. Oh, boy. The funeral's underway, I'm sure, my man. What's happening, Hugh?
Really? I mean, it's like that. That's what we do.
What do you want, a second place prize,
right?
man? I mean, what else is there to do? You lost. Come on.
Hey, listen. Can we get some sympathy down here in Atlanta? A little bit, maybe.
Hey, you had the run. It was an awesome run. 37 touchdowns and 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions by Matt Ryan. He wins the MVP. You put the Georgia Dome to its grave with fanfare by winning the championship game, but you get beat in the Super Bowl in epic fashion. I mean, will you guys talk about this as a epic failure or an epic comeback?
Epic implosion.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, today was a day of mourning, and I can be honest with you guys. A lot of Atlanta Falcons fans were not trying to hear it, and I was not trying to sell it to them. I was just like, hey, this is a place where you can cry on the shoulder. I got some big old shoulders. You cry on my shoulders, hey, I've been there. Not like that. Didn't lose like that. But I know what losing feels like. And the biggest question was, would you have rather not been blown out than lose a game like that?
I think you'd rather be blown out. You answer this for us, because I think you know this team a little bit better. They're very young, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, 7, maybe even 8 of their defensive starters are 25 or younger, so they're young. There's some veteran leaders, but not a ton. How will they respond to this? Right, because the fact that they're young, it gives them a chance to, we're going to go do it again next year, and it actually means something, because that's what coaches always say. But how are they going to respond to this?
That is hard to gauge. It really is. It's hard to gauge because the one thing that these guys had going for them was the fact that they were young, and the fact that a lot didn't phase them. They didn't play like rookies. They played like veteran players. But to lose in this fashion, and you and I both know, you don't go to the Super Bowl every year. That's just something that you're not the Patriots. It doesn't happen all the time. So there might be a few guys that feel like that, but it all depends on how they handle next year. It all depends on how the season goes for them. There's a whole lot of intangibles that goes into that. But I think that they're young enough so that they can bounce back from this. It's going to take a while. It's going to take probably, the beginning of next season just to get that foul taste out of your mouth. But I like what Coach Quinn has built here. I like the fact that, he talked about, hey, today, everybody's going to reflect on this, and eventually we'll get back on the horse. But right now, that's the big question. When are you going to get back on the horse?
Well, it's not going to be today, and it ain't going to be tomorrow. It's going to be a long off season, man. I tell you, yes, when you came on the phone here, Hugh, and Hugh Douglas is with us, host of the Game Mornings, 92.9 The Game, and CBS Family in Atlanta. You said, what, no sympathy? I got no sympathy. I got some second guesses for you, though, man. I mean, listen, how in the world, Hugh, can you run the ball 4 times, when you have a 23-point lead? Are you kidding me? 4.
You know what? And that's some of the same questions that I asked some of the beat writers and some of the guys that actually do the game. Dave Archer is the guy that does the game for the Atlanta Falcons Radio Network. And, we all watch the game differently, and we all see different things. But that was the one thing, to me, that stuck out. The Patriots ran 93 plays in this game. That defense was on the field a long time.
Too long.
The offense comes out in the second half, only scores 1 touchdown. This high-powered offense. What happened to the running game? And Dave was trying to explain the fact that, the Patriots made adjustments at the half, and they took away those perimeter run plays. But you and I both know you have to run the ball. You have to keep running the ball. Even when you can't run the ball, you have to run the ball. And that's the one thing that I think that when they got away from that, it allowed that Patriots defense to eat. They ate. They came up with big plays. They came up with big stops. And that changed the whole momentum of the game.
No, it definitely did. And they were averaging a pretty good clip, per carry with Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman. Do you think this was Kyle Shanahan trying not to be conservative? Because we all know the cliche, hey, you play prevent defense, you prevent yourself from winning, right? If you stop trying to score or gain yardage on offense, you give the opposing team a great advantage. You think Kyle Shanahan was trying not to do that by being aggressive, but it ultimately came back to burn him?
You know what? That's a great question, and I look at it like this: you got a high-powered offense that dropped 25 points on the Patriots in the first half, and then you look at the second half; it's a different ball game. They look conservative. Now, you have a lot of people out there that tell you that they weren't playing conservative, but it looked conservative to me. From my layman's eyes, they look real conservative because you're not doing some of the things that you've done in the first half that you had success with. You're not running the ball with Devontae Freeman and letting him gash that defense. You're not running those tackles sideline to sideline and making plays. You're not throwing the ball to Julio Jones as much as you used to throw it to him. And those are some of the things that you got to say, what is Coach speaking in this situation? But, again, you have to go back to your bread and butter. I think that you have to run Devontae Freeman, especially when that defense is pressing you the way that they are. You have to try to get something going in the run game.
We're talking to Hugh Douglas with us here on Tiki and Tierney. Hugh does radio down in Atlanta. So, listen, I've been where you are because I remember when the Yankees blew a big lead in 0-4 to the Red Sox, which ended the curse of the Bambino, you become psychologist, really, is what you do. It's really...
Yeah, it's a couch session.
I know.
About that, fellas. It's a couch session.
Yeah, there's only so many ways to position it. It is what it is. So you just have to hear it. You have to, you roll through it together. And, believe it or not to overstate what we do for a living. I mean, we're not doctors, but those are important shows. And you got to plow through it. But I want to tell you this. As I saw Arthur Blank, and it's very rare, Hugh, that, if ever, that I feel any sort of sympathy for billionaires, unless, God forbid, something truly tragic. Then, of course, I do. But I felt badly for him. Like, he is such a good man. He is such a great owner. He's good for football. What do you think he's feeling right now?
Man, there's no question that he's disappointed. He's heartbroken. Everybody in the city of Atlanta is heartbroken, guys. I can tell you that. Going on the show this morning, I got a lot of texts from people saying, I don't want to hear it. You're not from here. You're not a part of this. You've never played here. And I get all of that. I know you're upset. But I know what it's like to lose. And everybody knows what that feels like when you lose a game of this magnitude. Even if, you played the game of football and you know how it is and what it feels like to be in a position where everything is going your way and then all of a sudden the wheels fall off the wagon. And you feel for the fans because you know how invested the fans are in new teams. So when things like this happen, you relate to that. And you try to do your best to let the fans know that, for one, this team is not going to give up. They came too close in such a short period of time to fold the tents in right now.
Yeah.
That's what you hang your hat on. Nobody wants to hear that right now, though.
Yeah, I know.
But this team is going to come back, and they're going to be stronger. And I think that they have a great shot of getting back to the big game.
I mean, yeah, and that's really the question. What is their chance? Because, and I asked this question kind of earlier, but you think about everything that went right for them this year. The Panthers, who basically were unbeatable last year, implode. So there wasn't a great challenge in the conference, all right, or in the division for the Atlanta Falcons. All those things have to line up again. And do they line up again?
You know what? That's a tough question because you look at everybody's going to be gunning for you. You know how it is those years when you was with the Giants, and the Giants start playing well, everybody's going to take your best shot because you are the king of the mountain.
Yep.
And you have to be prepared for that. And there's those intangibles that we never know about, like injuries. Injuries play a huge factor in that.
And not to mention, Hugh, you're losing your offensive coordinator. You know what I mean? Kyle Shanahan was a big deal. His loss is going to be have a big impact on Matt Ryan, especially if they bring in a guy like Chip Kelly, whose philosophy is completely different.
Man,
you know what I mean?
Stop it.
I'm just saying.
Stop it. Listen, I trust what Coach Quinn has built here. If they're thinking about bringing in Chip Kelly, you have to trust the process, even though we've already seen Chip Kelly in the NFL. We haven't seen him as offensive coordinator, but we have a pretty good idea of what he's trying to do. I don't know if that's the answer, but to your point, Tiki, you're talking about growing pains. Once again, you're talking about a new offensive philosophy. You're talking about a new terminology, and you know this better than I do. When you bring in an offense and you change the terminology, it takes a while for everybody to get on the same page.
Particularly your quarterback. And you can't do that with the MVP.
Dr. Hugh is open for business. All right. Keep calling. Keep calling Hugh in Atlanta. Hey, buddy, appreciate a couple of minutes. Thank you very much, Hugh.
Hey, man, thanks a lot for having me, bro. I appreciate it.